With a new version announced, I figured it's finally time that I reviewed one of my favorite games of all time, Tragedy Looper. Hi, this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and today I'm going to review Tragedy Looper. This is not a how to play, I've already done that, so go check that out if you need to learn how to play. But I'm gonna try to let you know if you would like the game. So Tragedy Looper is a one versus mini game where the mini are protagonists playing against a mastermind, and they're trying to basically save the world. They're traveling through time, through different loops, trying to save the world. Now, before you go get this game because you love the time travel theme and you really want a time travel game, this isn't a time travel game. I mean, it is, there's time loops, and the theme works really, really well with that. But it's mainly a heavy deduction game. So if you don't like heavy logic and deduction, then click away now, preferably to one of my other videos. But if you do like deduction, and bonus, if you do like time loops and time travel, then you're in for a treat. So as I said, the theme works really well. It's based on time loops. If you've seen time loop animes, which there are a lot of, it's very similar to that. One player is the mastermind, and they know all of the bad things that are going to happen and are trying to get these bad things to happen. And the other players are the protagonists trying to prevent the bad things from happening and going through loops. So the same things can happen each loop, and the mastermind is trying to get the bad endings every time. And the protagonists are trying to figure out what all the characters are and what they're doing, what all of the bad things are that are happening, and how to prevent that before they run out of loops to do. I've played through all 10 scenarios in the base game. It comes with 10 scenarios that aren't really replayable unless you play as the mastermind again, because you'll know the answer. Or if you, I guess, forget. But there are also expansions with more cases. I've also only played it 4 players, so the game is 1 versus 3. There's 3 characters that the protagonists play as, and if you play as fewer characters, then just one person is playing as multiple characters. So I think it's best with 4 players. And it does matter because there's not open information. In fact, there's a lot of hidden information because each turn, each person is playing a card face down, and you know what everyone has available to them, but you don't know what they're playing. And actually, the protagonists have one card that cancels out a mastermind card, but if multiple protagonists play the same card, then that cancels out each other, and you're not allowed to talk about what card you're playing. You're also not allowed to talk about other stuff. There's limited communication throughout the whole game. You can decide how much communication you want, but it's recommended for a non-beginner game that you cannot talk throughout a whole loop until the end of the loop. So the protagonists will be trying to figure out a plan at the beginning of the loop, and then you're going through the whole loop without communicating, trying to work together and thwart the mastermind without being able to talk to each other. And then also you get information mid-loop, so your plans have to be adaptable depending on what happens. Each time you get information, you can look at your sheet that shows you different ways that bad endings can happen, and you can mentally cross off different endings and think about, oh, okay, if this person dies, then it could be because of this or this. But if this other person moves over here, like all these different things. And you can see why it's a game that requires a lot of brain power to play. Constant thinking. Because there's different scenarios, sometimes the end game can be frustrating depending on the scenario. Some of the scenarios, it's like a 50-50 coin flip whether the protagonists win or not. Sometimes it's like really hard for the protagonists to win. Sometimes it's really easy for them to win. So if you care a lot about the end game and who wins, then it can get frustrating. But for me, I really like the play of the game itself and doing all of this deduction during the game. So for me, the end game doesn't matter as much as the playing of the game throughout the whole game. Also, if you're the mastermind, you have to make sure that you don't make any mistakes, because if you give information that's incorrect, then you basically break the game. Just like in other deduction games like Clue or Sleuth, if you're giving away wrong information, that messes up the game. But I really enjoy being the mastermind or the protagonist because unlike in games like Clue or Sleuth, where you're all just trying to figure out the game, in this one, you're actively working against each other. So the mastermind can understand what the protagonists are thinking and then move characters in different ways to try to prevent the protagonists from learning new things. So the mastermind is trying to get them to get to the bad endings the same way each time so that they don't learn anything new. And the protagonists are trying to move around cards so that they'll learn something new. And I really like those mind games trying to guess what other people are trying to do and try to thwart their plans. The only other problems I have with the game is that the graphic design is kind of dark, so there's a couple of different types of tokens and they look kind of similar from far away because they're dark, but I don't know if the new version is going to be different. It might change the contrast of those. Also, the rulebook is kind of difficult to learn from, but once again, new version might be better. But if you're like me and like logic puzzles and deduction and mind games playing against other people, kind of like hidden movement games too, where you're deducing against other people, you really should try out Tragedy Looper, especially if you like time loop themes and time loop animes, because the theme works really well. So hopefully you kind of have an idea whether or not you want to play it. And if you do, then you can check out my how to play video for the game, because The rulebook is not great, but hopefully my how to play video is better. We'll see. So thanks for watching Board Game Blitz. Bye!